Oh, I was trying to start streaming. Just go live on Twitch. We're live on Twitch, boys. All right, yeah, so I'm recording now.
Like we streaming it live. All right. One sec. I just got a tag list. Oh, come on, that bot couldn't have come at a worse time. All right, we're just gonna hang out for a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. But you
Oh,
are
you do your
live
thing.
and you're recording.
Live and recording. Well, I'll watch what I say.
Yeah, watch what you say. It could be used against you in the coming days.
um, GOJ, let me look. I'm gonna take a look at your settings. You should be good. I mean, it just depends if you want to talk or not. But try toggling it. You may have to go to like your user settings in Discord and check to see if your mic is like synced. Oh, just gonna wait a little bit till we get some people. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a beautiful day. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, GOJ, I don't see you muted at all, so you should be fine. Volume's all the way up. Check to see if you also have like your web page like actually muted. Because sometimes I get so blown up on Discord, I just mute the entire thing and it doesn't allow you to have a mic or it doesn't allow you to hear. Well, then I guess your mic just hates you. I'm sorry, brother. You can always try going on your phone too and just using speaker that way. All right. So, I mean, I'm just going to get this baby going. This is the intro. If y'all have never been here before, welcome. This is what we do every Monday. What I really like to do with these things now, I mean, before I kind of laid out a structure for you guys, just by going the intro, I go by Clutch. I pretty much go off of all my trading based off of technical analysis. I've been trading since 2014, kind of been trading all markets. I found my niche. I love it. I like to trade US equities and stock options. But I've traded equities, options, crypto, commodities, futures, OTC, and now NFT. So covering all the bases I possibly can. But really, where I found my edge was supply and demand and Elliott wave theory. That's going to be my niche. But I have noticed a little bit of a difference in the NFT market. It's less liquid, so we have to go off of kind of different techniques to figure out how to capitalize that. Um, Disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. I do not have my Series 7, so everything you hear, written, or anything I say here is for entertainment purposes and education only. So trade at your own risk because you can lose your shirt in this market, and I sure as heck ain't going to be responsible. Some rules. You got to have rules when we're getting into trading. So sorry if you guys have heard this 100 times, but I will say it 100 more. You have to have rules when you're trading. Doesn't matter what it is. You should even have rules when you're investing, because the more rules you have, the more disciplined you're going to be, and the less emotion you're going to have when you're, parking your money in certain assets or taking certain trades. So we're going to go over the rules. Rule number one: capital preservation is everything. You guys got to preserve your capital. You can't just be constantly loading money into your account. I mean, your goal is to be taking what money you currently have existing in there and making it work for you. So that means setting stop losses, having profit targets in mind, taking money while it's there. You're never going to go broke taking profit. I can guarantee you that. Number two, always have a plan. So if you guys weren't here last week, we kind of went over trading plans. We went over risk profile, trade management. So if y'all weren't here last week, I highly encourage you to watch week three. There is how we kind of went over, how to have a plan, how to structure a trade, how to structure an investment, um, little things like that. Number three, treat trading like a business. The reason why I say this is because you're going to be managing things like your profit and loss. You're going to be thinking things a bit more analytically. You're going to be thinking with less emotion and more intellect. So that's why I always like to say treat trading like a business. If you're going to be getting into it, treat it like a business. Number four, use chart history to identify your edge. This is where I find all of my edge is in a chart. You can find some in fundamentals, if there's some things that you can find in, if we're talking stocks, you can find things in filings. You can get some sweet alpha from somebody who's in a project. So there are other ways to find edge in this market, but me personally, I use chart history to identify my edge. Number five, only risk what you can afford to lose. There are so many things that can go wrong if you're using more money than you are able to lose. So make sure you guys are setting proper goals and expectations for yourselves. You're managing your risk. Um, this leads into trade on facts, not emotion. So if you're using way more money than you have to lose, you're going to be trading very emotionally. So if you find yourself in that spot where you are trading emotionally, take a step back, size down. I've found it incredibly helpful when I've been trading with less size to kind of help identify my edge. Because less money means there's less emotion. More money means more emotion. So dial that back until you can kind of find your comfort zone of what's going to be not triggering emotions for you. Because that's going to lead into number seven, helping you be disciplined. You got to be disciplined. Again, this loops back perfectly into week three. If you're disciplined in your trading, that means you're not being overly emotional. You're using a plan. You're doing everything you possibly can to set yourself up for success by not being emotional, by having a plan, identifying areas of opportunity. And we're going to lead into number eight, learn proper sizing. So, I mean, this goes back into rule number six. You'll find that all of these are kind of like a Venn diagram. When I say learn proper sizing, that means trading in a way where you're not leveraging so much capital, you're not utilizing so much of your account, you're utilizing certain percentages that are going to help you, one, be profitable, two, withstand the ups and downs that come with trading. But it's also going to help you stay disciplined, not emotional. You're only going to risk what you can afford to lose. And it's going to help you identify edge in chart history. It's going to help you treat trading like a business. It's going to help you have a more concrete plan, and you better damn well believe it's going to help with your capital preservation. Number nine, this is one that it took me a while to figure this out, but know when you should take a step back. I don't know if you guys have been in the situation where you've just had either a losing streak, you've had a really bad trade, and you just went underwater and you took a huge hit. That's when you should take a step back. When things don't go your way, they don't go your plan, or you didn't stick with it, you're going to find yourself in a spot where it's like, oh my gosh, I need to take a step back. It doesn't mean necessarily take a step back to quit, but it means take a step back to analyze what your mindset was in that particular moment. Did you have a plan? Were you keeping your rules in place? Taking a step back can be incredibly beneficial for you and your trading, and also preserving your capital and just not having you go broke in the market. Rule number 10, market's always right. Doesn't matter what you think, what you hope, what someone told you, market's always going to be right. So, how we can help ourselves be always right with the market is by following all these rules. So, just know that the market doesn't care, doesn't have emotions like you and I do. It's always going to be right. Um, Today's agenda, we did the welcome intro, we reviewed the disclaimer, we went over trading rules, but today we're going to be learning how to read charts on NFTs. I don't have a lesson plan for this because it's going to be a little bit more off the cuff. We're just going to be kind of going through some alpha that I've been looking at and researching. So let's get this up and going. So, how many of you guys are familiar with Project Alpha? Or sorry, gosh, Project Dolphin. I'll put a link actually in Klutch Trades channel really quick. So if you guys don't have it, I'll be posting some links in there, and I'll also be posting one for Soul Sniper. If any of you guys have anything that you guys personally use that you find helpful, I mean, post it in the channel, post it in the chat. Any and all information's welcome. Kind of how I use Soul Sniper. I mean, this is like one of the first ones I found, and one of the ones I found the most helpful. Does anyone have a project that they want me to pull up and take a look at and chart for you?
Just
You
a
do? Okay, I fucking knew it.
I'm so bullish out of it. I don't know why.
uh,
Obviously your fair market value definitely tested back to
whew,
that. Yeah,
oh, baby. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna tell you guys when I look at this, I look at a few things. I like to look at what happened on the initial mint day. So this was a 4-hour time frame. Some people like to use the daily. Some people like to use the hour. Some people are in
four
this
four
micro
hour
10
is
minute.
my favorite time.
4 hour is always going to be my favorite too. But the real reason why, I mean, if you look at like U.S. equities, there's just a little fun fact: U.S. equities are only open for 8 hours. So instead of looking at a chart on a day and just seeing one candle, I like to see the 4 hour so I can see how we're going to do a little thing here. So if you look at the bottom, all the way at the bottom where it says 27 June 22 and below June 27, 2022. Third candle back June 24th. So US equities are going to be broken up into two candles if you look at a 4-hour time frame. The reason why I like this is because I want to see what the first half of the day looked like and the back half of the day. So
Mm.
4-hour time frames are wonderful for me. NFT is a little different. Crypto is a little different. It's open 24 hours. So these 4-hour candles are going to go over an entire a wait 27. So I mean we've got all of these candles from here all the way to here to look at a full day because the market's open 24 hours.
Side
Um,
note, I just want to go talking about the open and close. I don't know if you
mm,
remember when like Dogecoin kind of like started popping off, and there was getting a lot of retail investors that had no idea about crypto, and all over like social media, like Facebook and Instagram and stuff. It always like cracked me up when people be like, "The market's gonna open, Dogecoin's gonna blow up when the market opens," and I'm just like, "Bro, I don't know if you realize
doesn't work like that. I
crypto
don't know
is
if you guys
20,
noticed,
it's
but actually
24 hours."
it's open 24 hours. But I
Yeah,
mean, they could have been talking about, at 5 p.m. my time, like right now, 13 minutes ago, is when technically crypto opens for a new 24-hour time frame. Um, they could have been also talking about just when U.S. stock equities open up at 6:30 Pacific time. I,
they're not that smart. It's just,
I, I don't know.
if you're going in on
I
Dogecoin,
I think I've been giving people a lot more credit than
yeah.
I should have.
That just
um,
reminded me of that. I didn't mean to take you off track, but that was some
oh,
good
you can't
times.
take me off track.
Yeah, so I'm already
um,
off track.
so first things first, when I look at a chart, especially on NFTs, I want to see how the first opening ranges on mint. So for those of you guys who don't know what we're looking at when we're looking at candlesticks, so just know if the chart's red, the open is going to be right. I'm actually just going to use a pointer because it's going to be so helpful. This particular spot where the candle is full, that is where we opened. And this little number where that box is filled, that's where it closed. All of the wick, meaning that little like pintail line, that's where the range moved. So just ape, we opened at 1302. Holy crap! We opened up at 13 Sol, so that means price went all the way up to 1649 before falling all the way back down to 707. So that means just Ape within its, we'll just call it an ICO, just like a crypto. It had a massive 136% swing in a 4-hour time frame. So it had a really big volatile open. Um, and what we do with this history is, one, we look at, this is that initial interest. This giant green candle, that's the volume. So it traded 88K SOL in its first 4-hour trading range. So there was massive interest. And then you can look and see, I'm looking at all the way down at the bottom, sorry, not all the way down at the bottom, but I'm looking down here. I'm looking at volume. I'm looking at candles. And I'm also looking at listings. So that's what each of these things are on here. The support resistance, get rid of it. It's, I don't know what algorithm they use, but it's absolute shit. Like, that's not right at all. Don't use that. There's no edge in it. So these are the three things I'm looking at when I'm looking at an NFT chart on Soul Sniper, for example. Um, the beautiful thing about seeing the listings is you can actually see supply and demand in kind of real time, because this is showing you your supply. And so when price popped up like this, you can see the listings started at 142 and they rose to a high of 2,288. That means in this 4-hour candle, that means price swung 88,000 SOL. That's how much liquidity was trading back and forth between buy and sells. And this is how quickly the listings grew in that 4-hour time frame. So, what is a big takeaway when you're looking at something like this is supply exceeded demand rapidly, meaning supply rose about 1,000% in 4 hours, and price action, technically, let's just call it from the bottom. On the bottom range, it moved about 60%. From the opening range, we moved, sorry, this is so hard. We moved about 26% on our initial pop, and we lost about 46% when these listings started to move. So, you want to have a question?
I think so.
That caught that caught me off guard. But this is how you can see supply exceeding demand in real time. So when you're looking at these listings moving, and you don't see this volume continuing trend while these listings are moving up, this is what you're seeing, a absolute fade in the moment. And you can see when price action starts to rebuttal and it starts to recover like it did here, listings had to go down in order for that move to happen. So something I like to do, I'm gonna pull two time frames here. I'm gonna see if I can get them both in the same screen.
Hey, Clutch, wasn't this whenever one of the first mints where they allowed you to trade as you minted?
Um, I don't know that info. I'm gonna be honest. But it's completely
I think it
possible.
was. I think that's why there were so low listings at the start, and then listings started increasing because people started minting. Just to keep it in mind for this chart.
Beautiful. Thank
That
you,
is
man. I
true.
appreciate that. So if I am trading a mint, or if I'm trading an opening range on, just a project in general, it looks like I can't get these side by side. But for those of you who don't know, uh, often, you're allowed to pull up what's actually happening in real time. So I can see the listings, I can see the sales, I can see what percentage. And so this is taking what we call the OS. So this is the available shares. This is exactly what is open on the market. And so you can see 24% of the outstanding shares have been sold. 51% of them have been listed or relisted, and 22% of them have been delisted. So this can give you a really nice idea of what's happening in real time with Just Ape. Sometimes I do like to have these side by side so I can be, one, watching the chart and seeing what's kind of going on. And I use Dolphin as my level 2 data. It's allowing me to see listings, it's allowing me to see sales, and it's allowing me to see delistings in real time because it's faster than Soul Sniper. Soul Sniper, I see delays because on this side you can see, listings and things like that, but it's not giving me a clear picture. When you have Dolphin on the side, I mean, there's not a whole lot of action happening right now. That's why there's nothing here. But when things are happening live and a mint is really hot, I like to have both of these screens up, maybe on different monitors, so I can just have everything nice and clean on one view. But this is how you can see, for example, let's try to find one that is there any project that's like moving right now? We can actually just see what's going on here and see if there's anything that's moving. It looks like 2105 Voyagers is having some action. So what this is hype mode on Get Dolphin. And this is, you can see listings in real time, which are going to be gold. Sales are going to be green. Delist is going to be gray. It's neutral. Nothing happened. It came off the market. That's amazing. But you can get a real sense of what's going on in any given chart or any kind of data that's going on. So this will disappear. I think it stays on there for maybe a minute. But if you see a mint that's hot or something along those lines, or if there's just a lot of action, like an influencer posted something, you can use Get Dolphin and see what's going on in real time. Is it sales? Is it listings? Is it delistings? And you can see that it's kind of stalling. So what action I saw in Hype Market, it may have been a blimp and I just saw someone sweep or something along those lines, but it's not consistent action. I'm not interested. Um, but that's a good way to kind of get some edge and see what's actually going on in real time. But we're going to divert back to here just so that we can stay on topic. So again, what I'm looking at when I'm on a chart, I want to look at the candles, I want to look at volume, and I want to look at the listing history. Um, one really cool thing you can do on Get Dolphin is actually have the listings and the price history overlay each other, and you can see a really beautiful divergence. And we're going to try to pull that up actually. Trying to remember. Let's look at. I think it's primates. They actually show a beautiful divergence on their chart. So this is what the when you actually have a profile on Get Dolphin, you can see all of the history simultaneously. So you can see listings are in blue, the floor price is green, and the volume's down below. So one key kind of, I guess, market edge or bullish divergence you can use when looking at this is whenever the listings cross with the floor price, look at what happens with the history. So the second that listings are going down and the floor price is going up, you need volume to be complementary in there. So if volume's going up, floor price is moving up, and listings are going down, we had a bullish divergence at 11.05 on the floor, and if you could just continue this move all the way, I mean, that divergence gave you a entry at 1105. And I mean, in a perfect world, we exit at the absolute top, right? Because hindsight's undefeated. Um, our floor price exit could have been 35.43. You have another bullish divergence right here. So you had a second opportunity to get in at 14. You had another opportunity to get in, if it'll load, at 1606. So you had three bullish divergences on this chart that could have allowed you to have a sick game. And so whenever these get too far apart, when the floor and listings they have this big of a marginal spread between each other, see what happens to the price the second listings start to move up. So we're gonna be looking down here and watching how listings are moving up. And the second they cross, bearish divergence. You could have got in on a bullish signal here, and your exit could have been on the bearish divergence. So Dolphin gives you a really neat technical edge that I haven't seen on a whole lot of websites or charts in the past. So in crypto, or sorry, in NFTs, you can keep it super simple and just trade these divergences. I mean, I've gone through a ton of charts and it does work incredibly well.
What
Um,
what does Cats on Crack look like? And you have to pay for Dolphin, right?
um, no, see it says get access pass.
Yeah.
I'm fucking cheap. I don't pay for anything. So I haven't paid for access pass yet. This is just free data.
Oh. And that's what, just Get Dolphin IO?
I posted it in Klutch Trades, so you'll have that and Soul Sniper. So kind of everything that we're going over.
Yeah, because I use Soul
Oh,
Sniper a lot.
is it with a C? It's on Crick?
Yeah, Cat's on crack.
Well, okay, well, it hates me, so it won't load on here. I'm not sure if it's something that like a project has to reach out for to be a part of it, but I do see that commonly that they're not going to be on there, but they are always going to be on Market Hype. Because Market Hype is real-time data taken from Coral Cube, taken from OpenSea, and taken from Magic Eden. So they're always pooling that data, and they're always going to have that Market Hype constantly running. But certain projects like Primates, I mean, they're going to have their chart live.
I
The
think
second,
the site's down.
yeah, did that just happen to you?
Yeah, because I was trying to
Well, I'll just
look
be
at
fucking
stuff and
myself.
it just yeah, it stopped. Like can't reload back into it. Let's see. Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah,
Just
it's
reloaded for
working
me.
now.
And I found yeah, the Cats is on there. Let's see if it loads. It did load.
Sorry, I have so many browsers open. Sets?
Yeah, it's on their front page.
Sets on Craig Jr.? Okay, hold on. I'll go to the front page.
That's-
Going here.
yeah, right there.
Yeah, they should be here. So they might be having some issues. So expect that. Not everything's going to be perfect. So, I mean, you guys, if you've been in these lessons before, I mean, y'all know I do crazy, weird shit, technical analysis wise. But NFTs, you really just need to keep it simple. I mean, this is a bullish signal right here where listings are going down, intersecting with the floor price, bullish divergence. You could have taken that for, of course, it's just not going to work. Could have taken that for a nice little ride. Entry point could have been, I mean, the first divergence was here at 23. The high was, oh, well, that's listings. Never mind. That's a bearish divergence. So whenever listings is coming from the top side and intersecting with the floor price, that's bullish. But when we have those divergences and you're going to see that the floor price didn't budge, that's because the listings they started to go down, but then they shot back up. So there are moments where these are fake outs. But that's just where you have to go back and watch week 3 video so that you guys know what kind of rules you need to keep in place, what kind of stop losses you can keep in check. Just remember, so for example, let's say we have a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio, meaning I'm risking a 30% stop loss on a 60% gain minimum. You have to remember to count royalties. So if I bought an NFT at 1 and I sell it at 1.3, and the royalties are 7.99 and Magic Eden has a 2% fee, I'm not collecting that full return. You're taking a 10% hit out the door the second you sell. So you need to remember to keep that in your calculations when you're calculating your profit and loss when you're setting those rules. So if you're going to write down like, hey, my entry's at 1, my stop loss is at, if you stop at point 0.8, you got to add an additional 10% on your stop loss. So there's little things that you need to pay attention to when you're looking at your artist royalties and your sell fees, depending on what broker you're using. But here you can see that it doesn't always work. I mean, it's going to have a fake out. It crossed. Look at the volume. If you look down here, the volume started to dip down the second that divergence crossed. So if you want to have not a perfect signal, but let's just say, I mean, so we've seen 3 instances where it worked. We've seen one where it didn't. So that's 1 versus 3. And now we have another signal where it worked. That's a 75% what's the word I'm looking for? 75% accuracy on just that divergence tool when looking at 2 different charts that had a lot of hype. So I just make sure that if that divergence is happening, meaning the listing price is coming from the top side, piercing through the floor price on here from the top side, you need to make sure that that volume is going to be in an uptrend and not in a downtrend. Because when it's in a downtrend, you're not going to have enough demand to meet that quota to have the floor price move up with the listings coming down. Because if you guys think about the majority of NFTs headspace, They are an instant gratification market. I've never seen such entitlement in my life. So you have to make sure that if you're reading this chart and you're paying attention to these, you're making sure that volume is being complementary to your divergence. Because if it's not, more than likely it's not going to pan out the way you wanted. But if you scroll down, there are other neat tools on here. I mean, that activity screen that we kind of touched on earlier, you can see the pricing spread, meaning what was the spread between 98 and 102, how many listings came up during that time. Um, this is going to be like an overview of everything that is traded. So total listed. So this is going to be the listing count on this side. So you can see from 42 to 46, you're going to have less than 10 listings. So you can start seeing where your floor prices are starting to get thick, meaning how many items are listed at at a potential zone. So at the floor, there's only 9 listed from 42 to 46. That's not that much. The floor is pretty thin. But the second you start jumping up, 46 to 50, okay, I've got 16 listed. So you can actually see an area of supply really clearly on here because that's the beautiful thing about crypto. There's nothing hidden. I mean, if you have listings there, you can see a clear area of supply. If you see the floor being relatively thin and no one's buying, well, you can put two and two together and see that there's not a whole lot of demand there. But this is just a nice line chart. There's not a whole lot of pizzazz to it. But it does help for divergences. I mean, it's giving you trade signals. Because if you entered here and this was the floor, I mean, we never really came back to that. So you could still be holding your trade. And, I mean, holy crap, that got that high?
Yeah, I should have sold.
Well, if you got in here, you're fine.
I got in at one.
What, wait, like one soul?
It was 1.3 was my first buy.
Oh my dude,
Oh, nice.
congrats. That's killer.
Yeah, the mint was
Damn.
two, and then it went heavy under mint. People were kind of flooding it, and then I bought one just because I was like, I don't know, I see these actually going good. That community, like the Discord was just crazy. Like I'd never seen Discord like that at the time. This is before like hype mints and everything, and I
Or
regret
all the
not buying.
goodies.
Yeah, I regret not buying more. But I saw it go to
Um,
100, and I was like, I'm holding.
Hodo. And by the way, you can just search symbols in here. Like you don't need to be moving around all crazy. But so let's take a look at this for example. So we're gonna look at the pricing spread. So at 58 to 62, we got 29 listings. And so if we want to look at a 4-hour chart, you can actually see where let's go to a daily because this thing's been around for a while. Beautiful. So you can see again, we don't use these support and resistance lines. They're absolute garbage. We're going to do some supply and demand on this. So for supply and demand, we're looking at the history. We're looking at chart history to identify our edge. So here, price was in agreement, meaning that there's no range in this. Like these candles are inside candles, meaning this range on this specific candle, the following day, the price action stayed within that candle. So price action is in agreement here. But here we have a disagreement. Demand is exceeding supply. And oh, hold up. And you can see the volume popped up here. This candle gave you a nice big old green pop. So you can see that there was demand for this particular price and demand exceeded supply. And you can see that supply was going down as demand was going up. So people weren't just listing and dogpiling on top of it. So this was the origin of it. You could draw this little line all the way over here. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you can get an idea that each time price came back down here, boing, we bounced. Boing, didn't really bounce. We're not there yet because volume was showing you that there wasn't much demand. So supply and demand zone is only going to be as strong as the market sentiment. So if we test once, I want to see how deep we get into that demand zone. So this wick went almost all the way through it, and volume didn't show a crazy amount of reaction to it. So more than likely, the second time we test, it's not going to be as strong. The third time, we're not going to be as strong. We closed inside of it. So this demand zone isn't as significant anymore. The next area that would be super interesting is if we came all the way down here because it's a fresh zone and it's another area where we see price kind of stall in agreement, and then we launched out of it. Listings went down, volume went up. We've got three big old staircases right here, and we've got a leg down in listings. So with Soul Sniper, you can see supply and demand super clear. And we were talking about 58 to 69 kind of being a area of supply. I mean, it's not as clear on here, but I mean, this is where I'd be drawing my supply zone because I saw that price was in agreement. We fell. It wasn't a dramatic fall. So it's not like supply is consistently over exceeding demand on this because there is interest. But you can see that, cats on crack, it does have a lot of fair market trading in it. Here's just a downturn, more than likely because we were in a gruesome bear market during June and there wasn't a whole lot of liquidity in the market. So people are exiting, people are selling, but it's not dramatic because the people who are holding it, you can see, aren't panicking and overlisting and shooting the moon like we did on listing day and things like that. So you can really use the history in seeing what listings are doing, what volume is doing to kind of make educational choices. Uh, should should Den have sold here? Absolutely. I mean, that is a crazy candle. When you see a candle like this, it's called a shooting star or a gravestone, meaning price action opened here, shot all the way up, and then sellers overtook it in one day and pushed price almost all the way back down to opening. This is a very bearish candle. It's also a very bullish candle when you invert it. Because if it's inverted, you're seeing that let's say, for example, if it's bullish, we opened down here and the wick came all the way down here before buyers pushed it all the way back up and closed it green. So I definitely encourage you guys to learn candles. I always like
Those
to
are
trade
called
candlestick.
hammers, right?
Yep, hammer candles. It's a great sign of demand. It's a great sign of buyers overthrowing sellers. In our case, even though it closed green, that don't matter to me. It's bearish because we pushed price up that high and we fell, showing there's almost no demand up here. No one's willing to pay for that price, but everybody was willing to sell up there. You just look at the listings; it tells you the tale. Um, I mean, if I'm looking at, cats on crack, this is our area of supply at 67. They have some at 58, 60. This is just an area of resistance. I mean, I bet if we threw that supply and resistance chart back on here, people are probably using that to figure out where they're selling. But this is to give you an idea of how to use supply and demand and using listings to show you the supply, using volume to show demand, and using the price history on a chart to figure out how to better read these. Um, if that all becomes overwhelming, I mean, go back to the basics, learn what candlesticks are, learn what candlestick patterns are, things like that. It's going to help you really figure out what you're looking at. But you can also keep it super simple and just stick to line charts. But me personally, I like to use candlesticks because I can read a lot more in depth and see what's actually going on. I mean, this tells me a tale, but doesn't give me nearly as much detail as a candlestick chart does.
Hey,
Is
Clutch.
yo,
Can I get you to look at a project Soul Sniper?
sure.
Okay, Stoned Apes. I have a feeling because they're like really low. They're
Stone
below
Dave Crew?
30 right now. Yeah, Stoned Ape Crew. And I just have this feeling they're doing like a new roadmap and stuff, and I'm looking at their candle chart,
Ooh, look at that
and
gap. What happened
and
here?
yeah, so they're taking a massive dip, but I think they're gonna go on a bullish run soon because they have a new roadmap coming out. Um, but I don't know. I want to hear your take on it. Like, what do you think is happening here?
So, my rule when it comes to gaps, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what market you're in, gaps always fill because this is a massive imbalance. Meaning we opened here, but something happened and price just gapped up. Didn't quite close, so eventually price was going to close the gap and it did. Um, this listing history shows me, okay, so it's got a super small supply. I mean, 80, 90. So there isn't a whole lot of supply available. What's the total supply on this?
I think it's four. No, hang on, let me look.
Because this is sexy to
How
me.
do I
Like,
read
I
it?
think this is so
Forty
when you
thousand
see
two hundred.
4,200, so
Yeah.
420 with an extra zero.
420. Yeah. Yep.
So these holders are not letting go. This is super bullish to me. It doesn't
Okay.
matter if we're at like 100 listings. That's less
Yeah.
than 10%. That
I
is
think they're at 109 right
astonishing
now.
low.
Their listings are at 109.
This is a little delayed, but my gosh. So when I look at stuff like this,
Uh-huh.
this is an area of demand down here. I mean, there isn't much history to go off of because
Yeah.
we're at the very low of it. But this is an area that does interest me because we're at 29. And I mean, you can use, a stop at the all-time low
Mhm.
as like your stop out if you get nervous, if you need liquidity, things like that. But the risk reward here isn't bad. But the thing that is troublesome is you see the volume. Oh, and by the way, you guys, if you're looking at a full history and you see your volume looking like this, it's because you have an outlier here that's causing everything else to look small. Just click on this, drag it to the left, and all of your volume's going to change and be more relative. So I want to take a closer look at the history and what's going over here with volume. So I can just scroll, scroll, scroll until it's super small and see what's going on. So here we can see that we've got a clear uptrend in listings. Listings are going up. Let's take a
Mhm.
look at the percentage. So from the low to here, listings have gone up about 190% from the lows back in May, and price from its high fell about 64%. So not too bad having a supply increase of 200% and a fall of only 64%. Trust me, it sounds crazy, I know. But when we're taking a look at this, what you could be waiting for is a bullish divergence here. So when volumes in a why wouldn't it stop? When volumes in a decline like this, you can patiently wait for volume to have an outbreak here. I mean, this is pinching because every time you see, volume start to be in a downtrend like this and you get a pop, I mean, it didn't really reflect here too well. I mean, we had like what is this? A 21 or no, a 9 EMA or a 9 SMA rejection. This is just taking 9 days, like the last 9 days of this price history, and grouping it into a moving average. So I don't put a whole lot of weight into them. I know Mods has a pretty crazy EMA strategy he uses, and I've back tested it. It's kind of compelling. I'll let him tell you guys about it. But me personally, let's take a look at this and just see exactly how far we fell in terms of a retracement. Even though I'm going to be measuring here, I'm looking at the far left side of this cross, and I want to see if we've completed a 88.6% retracement from all time. Oh shit, we broke it. So this isn't a deeper corrective wave. I know NFTs don't follow it nearly as well as US equities or crypto and stuff like that just because the liquidity is low. But when we break that 88, I get a little nervous because you can see where we respected it before, we bounced, we were here, we stalled, and then we broke. Bulls tried to reclaim it, but they just didn't have enough volume because volume's in a decline. So when volume's in a decline like this goes back to an older lesson. When price is going down and volume is going down, you're poising yourself in a spot to reverse. Because when you only have 107 listings at 29.4, doesn't take a whole lot of liquidity to flip this. So I think people are just a little nervous right now. Was there news that came out on this that caused this?
No, so they've been in a downtrend for quite some time now. Ever since like this bear market started, they've just been slowly going lower. Like they were holding firm at like a 60 sold floor for quite some time. And then they've just been slowly doing this, and I've been waiting for that moment, and I think that moment's almost here is when they're gonna like recover, like, flip that around. Um, because
The
I
risk
really like
reward
the
here
pro.
isn't bad because
Hmm.
we're looking back in January, February. Let's take a look at Sol and what Sol was doing back in January, February. I mean, you can kind of use these complementary ways to look at charts and kind of see like, hey, was it Sol falling that caused this, or was it some kind of other outlier? So
Then we
we're
have a
back in January, February. We were still in a downtrend. We had a little bit of a pop in February. Um, Let's see if I can just perfect toss that on there. So January, February, we were still moving up in March. even when price was kind of in agreement and getting flat. But when Sol popped from March to April, March to April, I mean, price kind of fell, but that's just because Sol is getting more expensive, and not everyone who trades in Sol holds Sol.
Clutch,
Curious.
don't they have a passive income token?
Yeah, they have their puff token.
Bearing?
Yeah,
But
Puff. So
now
that's
look at
oh
their
sorry.
token as well. So this is the one thing I think we were talking about last week or whatever about and I mean I'm not saying like every project. I just any NFT project that has a token, I call it Ponzi-nomics. But if you look at their token, a good example is like look what happened to Mindful. You know, I mean they were up at like 100 something. Their token, you know, was I think it went up to like $10 or $11 for you know their wood or whatever. Clutch, do you ever use Bird's Eye?
I use Bird's Eye sometimes.
Yeah, all the time. You see me using it right now.
It's called Bird Eye.
Send me a link.
Yeah, here.
But I don't. I've never heard of it before. So I mean, just so you guys know, full transparency, I'm still new to trading NFTs as a whole. Really, Den, Neek, Flex, Maniac, all those guys have been in this market a lot longer than me, but I know charts. So any questions about projects, what they're doing, what they're about, ask those guys. They're way more knowledgeable than I am in terms of the fundamentals and the ins and outs of the projects. But I could take a look at a chart and tell you what's going on.
Okay.
That doesn't
So
change.
and you're gonna like this a lot too. And what's really cool too is if you link your wallet, it shows you the points that you bought and sold too as well, which is pretty cool. So I put
Oh,
it.
Mindfolk, dude. Yeah, I watched this whole move happen when I was like, I guess learning like different or not different sites, but when I was just watching NFTs,
Yeah, and
I was
now
like, dude, I watched this thing mint and just crank.
yeah. So now
It's kind of
what's
sexy. I
cool
like
about
these metrics.
yeah. So look, it shows you recent sales, how much people bought. It shows you the top
Oh, it's
holders.
got uh, time and sales.
Yeah,
I love this.
and
I
this
love this
is
so much.
yeah. So like you can do it even like you know
What's
like
their token?
you can
Wood?
yeah you can look at Solana. Like they have a lot of tokens for NFTs and then as well as like Solana tokens too. Um, but
Kind of
it's
cool.
yeah, and you see on the right their swap is powered by Jupiter. I don't know if you use Jupiter swap, but it's pretty much the best swap.
Oh,
And Phantom is going to be integrating
compatible.
Jupiter. Yeah, so Jupiter, I'm telling you, if you swap, like I don't know where you swap your tokens on, but Jupiter is
I swap in the streets.
yeah, Jupiter is by far the best one to use.
I love Bird
You
Eye.
know, in a bookmark it.
Yeah.
Does it go in Discord? You're gonna go in crypto, sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, to kind of drive the point home on Stoned Ape, I mean, listings are going up, but you could tell this is going to be volatile because it doesn't take much to move the needle. Like 37 listings here, and then jumps to 76. So this is an incredibly low amount of supply. So this is telling me that people are staking this and holding it, and it does probably have a cult following. You can just tell by the
Oh
listings.
yeah,
Like if the
they're doing
listings
the
are this
awakening right
low,
now. Yeah.
so I'm bullish on Stone Ape. Just looking at this chart and looking at how few listings there are. I mean, if you got 29 sold to throw at it and forget it, this is probably a nice mid to long term hold
Hmm.
without risking too much because there aren't people listing. Like even when it got this bad, I don't want to say this bad, but you know when it lost 80
It's pretty bad right now.
it lost about 90% from its lows to its highs. So from here to here, this was over an 88% loss. But it's not a loss if you don't sell. So most of these people
Yeah.
probably don't mind because they're probably just or not minting, they're probably just staking their NFTs to collect Puff because they think Puff is more valuable than the NFT. That to me is
Hmm.
bullish as well. I don't even know much about the project, but I could just tell you that. And that alone is bullish. That there's
Yeah. Okay.
price can fall 88% and people aren't running for the exits to sell because they think that token's more valuable than losing the NFT itself.
I'm glad I asked you. Because I've been debating on doing a write up on it because I'm like, oh man, they keep going low, and I'm like, oh,
Let's look at Puff Daddy. Let's take a look.
All right, so if you look in the
Is this it? Puff, or is it with an S?
it's a
oh, that's it.
PUFF. Yeah. So I posted in the Discord too. So here's 3 charts, and these are all tokenomic, you know, tokens with staking, and they all follow kind of the similar pattern, except for Dust, which is actually holding because, yeah, I mean, we all know what Dust does and how it's integrated into everywhere. But they're the that's why, when I was saying the other day, like, I obviously wish the best for Gigots because they're actually building and doing like good stuff. But
Is
compared to
it?
like
Oh, Dust Protocol.
yeah,
This
Dust
guy.
Protocol, yeah,
Those are two.
it's the bottom one
This guy.
Where'd you put those images,
in
then?
Clutch
Let's
Trades.
trade.
So
Oh,
like you
Klutch
look
Trading.
at Puff and it's like, they had their spike and then they have that second like okay, and then it's just down only mode. Same with
Holy
Wood
crap!
and
Look at
Mindful.
these outliers, though. That's nuts. Some poor soul market ordered this and bought all the way up to 20.
Yeah.
Jesus. So, fun fact, guys, if you're doing tokens and things like that, for the love of God, keep your slippage in check. Don't use market orders. Always use limit orders. Some fool who had a lot of money slapped with a market order, probably, or had their slippage at like 20% or something ridiculous, and ended up buying all the way up here when they didn't mean to. So, these are market orders, or someone just didn't have their slippage in place. This is bad. Like imagine it was trading at $3 and you bought it all the way to 25. You're dead underwater. Like you're screwed. You're holding that forever. But I mean, price is in agreement here. I mean, there's utility for it. People want to hold it. I mean, it's not sexy falling from like $7 down to one, but just the fact that price is just ooh, there we go. It gets a little bit prettier. So I mean, it is going down, but I mean, it's a buck 20 to hold a dust token. I mean, what's the average you need for a utility or a raffle with dust?
Wait, what do you mean? Like, what's the
Like an average
utility?
amount.
Yeah, like if someone's doing like a giveaway or
Yeah.
something,
Oh,
So
I
usually,
20
see
dust.
I mean, it
it's
ranges
like
because I
20
mean,
bucks.
yeah, it ranges though because I mean, a lot of raffles are like 1 to 2 dust,
Ain't
and
bad.
then like raffles for like
That's
bigger.
a lotto. I'll take.
Yeah, and then a lot of other raffles will be like if it's like a bear or something, people will put it at like 20 dust because they want to make sure they get their money. But I mean, it's always risky,
Getcha.
putting your bear out for a raffle because I mean, you're not guaranteed that you're gonna get that ticket sales. Like you have to market it really well.
That's risky.
Yeah.
I like that. Let me pull this back up so I get them all on one page.
Thanks for that,
Um,
Clutch. Thanks for
oh
looking
yeah,
at
for
that.
sure. So I mean, you guys kind of get it. I like to use Soul Sniper for like my really in-depth charts because it's powered by TradingView. If you didn't notice, it's my favorite chart. I use TradingView for everything. Um, so the fact that this is integrated with it is a huge plus for me because I have all of my tools available. I can do everything that I normally do with all of my charts with Soul Sniper. So that's why I like Soul Sniper. Um, and for like more in-depth price action, I mean, you can pay a premium for this. I think it's like 0.35 Sol a week. And you could take a look at things like Cardboard Citizens and like take a look at what's going on. Obviously, we already know where the demand level is. I mean, pretty much anything that's in the low twos or below, it just gets swept up and it doesn't stay there long. There's not a whole lot of real willing sellers to dump below there, but there's a lot of real willing buyers to buy before it gets down there. And you can kind of see our price spread, kind of see where our list count is. So from 2 to 4, we got 57 listings. From 3 to 5, we have 71. At our peak, 4 to 6, we've got 84. You can see on the all-time chart, you can pull it up. Yeah, it's pulling up. So when we were cranking and we hit like our 9 floor, we had tons of volume. Volume was we were trading about 500 a day, or yeah, I think these are daily. No, there could be 4 hour. So these are hourly candles. So in 1 hour we had over 500 sold traded, and that's how we had this flip. All right, this thing's lagging and it's gonna piss me off. But we had an opportunity to have a divergence right there, but we didn't. It was a fake out because if you look at volume spiking down here and then it just fades, you have to have these three things working in harmony: listings going down, floor price going up, and volume going up. If you have all three of those things working in harmony, you're going to have a solid tactical way to take advantage of just using Dolphin alone. I mean, you could be looking on Dolphin, you could be having this price chart up here, seeing listings live and things like that. But you can really break down the analytics of it when you go on Market Hype, because market hype is going to give you a real-time activity of sales, listings, and delistings. So you can have them all running right here. If you don't have anything filtering it, it's just going to be running and showing you the entire market. So sometimes if I just want to see what's hot, I'll just leave Dolphin open. And if I start seeing a page getting filled up with one particular project, I'll take a look at that project. I mean, this is a free scanner. It's free. I'm not, you guys see that I'm not listed. I don't have access. This is just free. So Dolphin's like one of the biggest free alphas that I've come across just for identifying market hype. So if you guys like to flip NFTs, you like to see what's hot, what's moving, this is a great tool. It's free. If things are already live, like I'm seeing, how would you pronounce that? Belis Junior Soul? Like we saw a few listings pop up there, but nothing was consistent. Like it's not flooding my screen. But if I did see something that was constantly popping up, you can just type it in. Like we've seen, oh, Drippy's is live. You can click on the individual thing that popped up and you can see, well, that was that individual sale, but you could limit it further and further to just seeing what's going on in that specific chart. Excuse you, Danny.
Thank you.
Of course. Is there anything that someone wants me to pull up and take a look at? I mean, it's 5:56. I can hang around for like a few more minutes, but I want y'all to kind of get what you came here for. So if there's anything you guys want me to pull up, give you my take. I mean, you've got Maniac still here. You got Maniac here,
Yeah,
so
I'm
he can
still
go over
here.
fundamentals. I can go over text. What
I'm
project is someone looking at?
I'm writing up that Stoned Ape Crew call right now. I don't want to miss it.
Take it. You need me to elaborate? Feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you.
Got it. If you guys don't want to talk, use clutch trades. But did someone say something? I heard something.
So what do you think about Coketail?
I hate it. I'll be totally honest. I'm not a fan of the art, and I'm not like a big art critic. Um,
What's the
but
chart say?
we'll look at what the chart says because this is how we do it unemotionally. So the daily, not a whole lot there. We'll look at the hourly. Ooh, so this is a favorable chart pattern. It's called a cup and handle, like the prettiest. But when you see price action fall, you see it dip and kind of come back to where it rejected its previous point. This is called a cup and handle. Here's the handle. Not really that pretty. It's not a perfect cup and handle, but I mean it's a cup and handle. So we're looking at this guy. I'm going to take it a little step further. So, I mean, here price is in somewhat of agreement. It's not a big trading range, but right here's the outlier where volume just pops. And so, some things that are really key indicators is if this is a demand zone and you see it wick and not tap it, that means this is a very strong area of demand and buyers were snatching it before price could dip. And so when we're looking at the volume, you can see we popped because we got one, two, three staircasing candles going up. We'll make this smaller. We'll get rid of this, get rid of that so we can see everything. So while volume's going up and listings were going down as each of those were moving up, price was getting above their min. But when volume just faded and listings stayed stagnant, out of nowhere listings came down. Does anyone know why listings were coming down on this? Like, did they announce staking or something I'm not aware of?
Your favorite influencer tweeted about it.
The Frank?
I don't know.
Supposed to be an airdrop.
Oh, there's supposed to be an airdrop. So there's little catalysts like that y'all got to pay attention to because a catalyst can drive a major delisting, and retail could be slow to getting wind of it and cause this price surge. So we had 1,000, holy shit, 1,000 SOL in 1 hour caused this pop. But then when we look over the next candle, oh, and so just so you guys know where I'm looking at the volume, it won't let me get all the way there. I'm looking here. I can't hover over it exactly because it'll just change all the metrics. But here we've got 1.5K, next candle 900, next candle 335. So we know it's going to take over 1,000 SOL to really break over this level. And right now on the Allery, we're at 50, we're at 155, 120, 139. So volume's kind of stepping down while price is moving up. So in order for this move to be sustainable, we need to see volume start going up while listings are going down. And right now, listings are taking a nosedive. It was at 1,600 earlier today, and it's all the way down to 1,000. So 600 taken off the market just like that. So if you want to try to figure out a little bit of edge, let's pull it up and see if we can get some market hype data on this. Perfect. Got Copetown. And so we'll leave this up because this will tell you what's going on with it live. There could be some delay in Dolphin right now because I'm not seeing anything pop up. We can take a look and see. So 2 minutes ago was the last transaction. So it's not really moving fluidly because just in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transactions, there's a 7 minute spread. So there's not a whole lot happening at this particular moment. You can tell because it's stalling. But a real easy indication if this thing is going to pop, this is probably the biggest area of supply there is. It might even be a little bit lower because what I'm doing is I want to get this to tag at least. So this is our area of supply because we test it, we fell. So there's a strong area of supply here. We moved up and we stalled just before getting to it, just like we did with demand. And so this is its pinch, this is its range. So if Copetown can tag this supply zone and keep volume increasing, you've got a solid trade. This is a no buy zone for me. I don't touch it here, I touch it down here. So a good trading rule is to only be trading in areas of demand and selling into areas of supply. So this isn't like a trade zone for me. If anything, we can watch and see how price tests this. Just got to be patient and watch what happens. So we had a sale 38 seconds ago, and we can see that there was a delist, there's a sale. So when I'm looking at trading something live, I'll have Dolphin running live with Soul Sniper, and then I have Magic Eden on my phone or something. So I've got all metrics in front of me, and I can react in real time. But you know, I don't trade in no man's land, is what I call this. I like to buy in demand and sell into supply. So it's at a good spot. I mean, 299, it's better than where it was down here. But you want to see volume increase, listings go down, and you want to see how we tag this area of supply. So 348, 350, that's what you want to see break. I think it's going to take a big catalyst because watching how much the volume faded so quickly tells you that that the interest is slowly fading. And this was a 15x outlier, and then just faded after that. So it's going to need to take another squeeze or another juice of some kind of news to push this up. Merit, you want to see Lazy Bear? Did I answer that for you though? Like, do you have any other questions or comments, concerns, anything about kind of what I went over?
Oh, thank you, man. Very well done. Appreciate it.
Thanks. That's why they keep me here. They don't let me leave. I'm just kidding. Hang Soul. Fuck yeah, look at that. Love Pang. So when I see, so hold up. When you see this kind of it auto populated on a 15 minute. Whoa. So big outlier, but it was only 3 SOL for the volume, 1.5. So this just doesn't move. There's not a whole lot of interest. I'm like scrolling back multiple days and the volume's 0. So we're gonna need to go to the hourly. When you see charts like this, it's just telling you that it's not liquid. Like price can stall for days and not have any activity, and then there was a 0.76 sell and we just fell. So this is what a non-liquid chart looks like. You can keep zooming out to get a better idea, but when I see stuff like this, there isn't a whole lot of data for me to go off of because it's not liquid. So when I see non-liquid stuff, you need to talk to people like Maniac to see if there's some kind of like fundamental cause for you to buy this. Because if the chart can't tell me a story, I need to look at the fundamentals. Is there an upcoming catalyst I need to be aware of? Are they burning NFTs? What kind of strategy is the team putting together for marketing to bring awareness to this? So when I look at stuff like this, you got to go deep in the fundamentals. You got to go on the Discord. You got to figure things out. You got to dig deeper in figuring out what is going to cause you to buy this besides looking at the chart. So I look at the chart, it tells me no. Because if I was to buy something, look how many, like, there isn't a whole lot of volume. So you're going to be trapped in this trade because there could be days where you're just stuck in this. And if you buy it at the floor and you sell it at the floor, yours may not be the one that's picked. Now you're typing, so I'll let you get that all out. Bullish on fundamentals. Yep, no problem, man. Fundamentals can be bullish all day, but I mean, you do need to think about your entry and exit strategy and how long you want to hold it. Like if you're buying it for a buy and hold, you can buy and hold it, and you're not going to be worried about the volume because your strategy is to buy and hold it for 3 months, 6 months, a year. So you may not be concerned or think about the intermediate volume, but to me as a trader, I look at volume because I want to see how liquid it is. And if it's illiquid like this, like I just don't touch it. It's just that's just how I was programmed. So paying soul. For some reason, paying soul is painful because I'm incredibly bullish fundamentally. This is one of the few projects I actually have done quite a lot of research on. I love the team. I love the developers. I love everything that they're doing. They're doing it incredibly smart and they're not focused on hype. They're not really focused on kind of what the social sentiment is. And if you listen to the AMAs, you could get a real crazy sense of how truly they, or sorry, can get a sense of how little they actually care about the current market sentiment. And that to me is so bullish because they're so confident in what's about to come out and they know the reaction that their project is going to create that they're like, we're not worried about this. We'll educate people, we'll tell people what's going on with it, but we
Kind
don't
of
really
like
care about the sentiment.
cardboard citizens.
They have a similar flair. And I mean, that's what drove me here was they're just like, no, we're not shilling, we're not paying influencers, we're not doing any of that. We're gonna let our work speak for ourselves. And that to me is fucking sexy.
Well, that's
Sorry for my language.
you're good. That's kind of like I don't know if you ever look into Grim Syndicate. That's a project
Yeah.
uh, that I am very bullish on. And like I said, are you familiar with them at all?
I've seen the artwork, but I really followed them.
You what?
I've seen their artwork and have kind of dipped into it, but I haven't done my research on it.
So
But I'm gonna add it to my list so I remember.
yeah, one thing to keep in mind with them, the creator of Grim is also part of Proof XYZ, and the artist is the artist for Moonbirds.
Yeah.
So um,
Just
they
gave me an idea for kind of a write up. Like we need to make sure that like we're you guys have tabs on who's done what, who's big hitters in the market space, and who's done things that are quite achievable, so that we have like kind of like an education section of like here's some of like the top builders, some of the top influencers, so that you can follow them on Twitter, follow their work, and kind of take a look at similar projects they're doing. Because in the markets that I come from, I used to trade OTC stocks. So it's, over the counter stocks in the US stock market, but they don't qualify for NASDAQ status. But if I know a CEO who did incredibly well on, one company, I would put them on an alert so that I would get alerted when they started a new corporation, and I would look to see if it was tradable. Because if it was, that's hidden alpha. Like no one really knows about that. But when they started a new corporation, I would dig into it. I would see what it is. I don't want to get too into it because it is a rabbit hole. But that is one thing for some, alpha that you guys can use for another fundamental edge.
You
So
can use
educate.
Crunch. You can use Crunchbase too, but you have to pay for a premium after a while. You can look at what money is flowing into projects before they hit.
I like that.
The founder of the co-founder of Moonbirds is best friends with my buddy Ryan Carson's his name. He left Moonbirds. I want to say like a month and a half ago to start his own project. But
You know what project it is?
I do not. But I have a friend that owns 10 Moonbirds, and he co-owns a ruby red Moonbird with the co-founder of Multicoin, which is basically the biggest VC of Solana.
That's good shit. You should do a write up for that. And I know that channel got cleared out because we're consolidating, but I mean,
You're
we
good.
can we could put things in alpha chat. We could put things in like the clutch channel. Like if there's things like that, I'll pin them and like keep this. I mean, if we want to share like education stuff, we'll just put it in here. If it's like alpha stuff, type it in there, ping me. I'll take a look at it, and if it's stuff that's like shit, people need to know this, we'll ping it. Because I mean, anything that we can do to give all of us edge and just to educate, I mean, that's what I'm here for. But to kind of divert back to Pang Soul, it's still relatively new. I mean, this isn't a whole lot of data, but you can see that. I mean, when we dip below 4, so I mean, I've been watching this pretty closely. There isn't a whole lot of demand. I don't think people really fully understand or are able to like kind of compute what kind of deal this project's going to be. But essentially, they're talking about wiping out the bot market by using AI. So fundamentally, Pangsol, they're going to be using AI to pre-mint in advance by taking advantage of Solana's proof of history blockchain. So for example, if there's a project coming up in a month, I've got my whitelist. I verified it on Mercury. I'm aware of what announcements they're making so that my whitelist doesn't get purged. I'll stay active in there to keep that whitelist alive. But I can schedule a mint with their NFT. As long as I have it in my wallet, I can schedule a mint in advance. And one of the brilliant things somebody brought up in one of their AMAs is they're like, well, so you can mint in advance. That's all good and wonderful, but I like to wait until a certain percent of the mint sells out before I mint. Do you guys think that you're gonna make that a feature? A founder was literally he lost his mind. He was like, "Yo, that's not something we thought of, but that is something we are absolutely going to implement. That is a great idea." So Soul's gonna be changing things in the market, and if they can get rid of bots, I'm gonna be all for it because I hate bots. I don't like losing to computers. And
Would suck.
if you guys try minting in public market, bro, it's worse than the sneakers app. Like you're not getting it. um, so Peng Soul, I'm bullish on it as a whole. I mean, I've minted mine and I've held it. I'm just keeping it in my ledger and I'm just going to forget about it. But I do want to grab more. But literally, as I was looking at the price down here, they announced that they were doing an AMA with what was it, Board Ape Yacht Club, and the price just shot up. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So they are very deeply connected. They're doing AMAs with some of the biggest projects. They're actually directly involved with Solana HQ. So they've been to the headquarters at Solana and they're talking to their team and their company directly because they're integrating Sol in other blockchains as well. Their project doesn't just stop at Sol. So I'm very bullish on it. The chart doesn't tell you that, but there's not a whole lot of demand here because they're not really marketing. They're doing AMAs, they're getting themselves being aware, but they're not rating. They're not your typical PFP either. But Pangsol, I'm very bullish on midterm, long term, and anything after that. Their AI isn't live yet. I know that they said that it'll be live no later than 2 weeks from an AMA that came out today. So I know that they're going to be launching it soon. And I think when people actually see the utility actually work and how it works, you're going to see immediate demand for it because everyone's tired of losing bots. That's my 2 cents on Pink Soul. Maniac, I don't know if you got anything on it. Den, I don't know if you guys got anything on it.
I don't really have too much on it, but I mean, I just know that they're doing shit.
I'm excited for what
I'm
they're
not
doing.
gonna lie.
Yeah.
I sold my Pink Souls, and I'm kind of just waiting for. Because I mean, it says their stuff's not gonna come out for 3 weeks, so I feel like they're gonna range in this like 3 to 4 area. If it goes down
Yeah,
to
they're gonna trade like this until they market, until their product is live, or until Frank is just like, "Yo, I'm balls deep on Pang Soul."
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
mean, never fade Frank. That is not hidden alpha. That's just facts. Don't fade Frank.
So I've heard that Ping Soul recently just received a grant from Amazon. I don't know if it was a massive amount, but it was something. Um, I also know that that he's met with Anatoly Yakovenko and the Solana team
Yep.
a bunch of times about VC funding for Ping Soul for additional tools and things that they're
Yep.
going to do. And then the third thing that I've been reading about is basically goes back to kind of their tokenomics and how if you hold the ICE token or whatever it is, it
Yeah.
it allows
The
you to
future utility to buy and use
yeah
tools on their platform.
buy
Oh,
different
and
tools.
so so Pencil, like their current NFT, this is their Genesis NFT. So this unlocks you utility to use their tools in the future. They will have 4 stages of mint, so 4 different products. But if you don't hold this specific one, those other utilities will be worthless because you can't buy like a tier 3 mint and not have the Genesis one. So this specific one is the one I'm probably the most bullish on because there's only going to be like their mint isn't changing. There's only going to be 4,000 of these available, but you have to have this specific one to use their tool. So there are tiers of this coming out. This is a prime
I'm
example of
holding mine.
technicals versus fundamentals. I mean, I was fundamentally bullish on this project, so I wasn't going to let technicals overthrow my decision. That kind of makes sense, you guys?
yeah.
Something fundamentally bullish about a project. I mean, we could talk about cardboard. I mean, I'm fundamentally bullish on the project. Chart doesn't look fantastic, but I don't care. I mean, I welcome the low floor price. I want to scoop as much of it up as I possibly can. So if you get into something for technical reasons, take a very strong fundamental reason to get you out of it or keep you in it. If you get into something for fundamental reasons and nothing's changed, ignore the chart because you got into it for a different reason and it was a hopeful intellectual reasoning and not an emotional one.
I think Ping Soul can pull something like a blocksmith. I think that's kind of where I look at its trajectory. If it
Yeah,
were to
it's going to be in the teens for sure. There's
right,
no question about that.
the
If you
only the
buy
only
here, you're going to 3x no problem.
the only
That's how
thing
patient you are.
someone made a really good comment on Twitter earlier, or some random guy I was looking at. He said the only issue, and this isn't an issue necessarily. He said the only thing he's like, name to me a project that is utility based that has that has an extremely high floor. And that's the only thing that's kind of true. As you look at most of the projects in the Solana or ETH space that are
They have
NFT
utility.
based.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Bored Apes aren't really a utility based project. They have parties and events and stuff, but that came later on. You know what I'm saying? So it's just this space doesn't it's not defined in my opinion in the same way that like the crypto space is.
Oh,
Like
I
there's
100% agree.
brand is
I think
big.
the big difference and like marginal spread between a utility and a entirely new utility is it's groundbreaking. Using AI to pre-mint in advance, we don't have that. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
exist yet. I mean, that's something to me that is groundbreaking technology that could pave a whole new way of how minting is going to be going. moving forward. Right now, it's bots, and it's so annoying. But scheduling a mint in advance where you can set it and forget it, I mean, that to me sounds blissful because there are projects I want to mint, but I'm like, Jesus Christ, even if I do mint, I got to be available. I got to make sure I can watch it and things like that. But if I'm hopping on a plane or I'm taking a car ride and I know I'm going to lose service or something like that, or I'm going to be in a meeting, I still want to make sure I'm able to get that mint. That is an incredibly different utility that's not available to the space. So I mean, like that's kind of how I weigh it. Like, is this a utility I can live without? If the answer is yes, then it doesn't really tickle me that same way as I don't know. Like I couldn't imagine not having that. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Well, and that's why I use Blocksmith as a comparison, right?
Yeah.
Tang Soul's doing something that takes, from a technical standpoint, is a lot harder to do than Blocksmith did. But the reason I use Blocksmith as the example is, at the time nobody had a whitelist tool in the space. Nobody had
Yeah.
something that developed, and it fit a need because basically they came along and said, okay,
Find a
we'll
need,
take
fill a need.
we'll take ten
So
percent
important.
yeah, we'll take 10% of whitelist allocation for an upcoming project, and in return, we'll let you use our tools. And so most projects are like, okay, no brainer. We don't have to pay you at all. We just give you whitelists, win win. So, the
Jeez.
price of Locksmith mooned. The problem is now people aren't minting as much, so the price of Blocksmith is going back down because the necessity for the tool, the demand has gone down. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So it's like,
sir.
it's all relative.
You and I need to chat. I like the way you think. And if we just take a look at this, I mean, dude, Blocksmith on its most recent measured move from here to here, I mean, it's hanging around like 61.8%. I love this. If people just hold this line, I mean, I'm bullish on Blocksmith, but it's expansive. 68 floor? Jesus. Oh, crap. It's 6:20. I am way past my time, you guys. Um, I have to go home. I got a relative who just flew in from Vegas, so I got to go meet up with all of them for a family dinner. But I had a freaking great time with you guys. I know we probably didn't get to touch on everything because it's a lot to squeeze into an hour. But just know that this like Clutch Trade channel, it's always open. I mean, if you guys want to chat, you want me to take a look at a chart, this will be, I guess, the technical one. Maniac, do you have like a text channel that people can like hop into?
Um, like a talk.
I mean, I'm thinking like we need kind of like like if my channel is technical, like we need a fundamental one. So I
Uh,
know Maniac like post his write ups in there, but I definitely want to have like this is our education for TA and then our education for fundamentals. So that might be something us and the team talk about, maybe making another channel for that because I love that
yeah, yeah. I think
fundamentals,
we'd
but
have to
kind of keep
just.
everything clean.
Yo, does rarity
Uh,
matter with Pang Soul? Do you know?
yes, it's not necessarily rarity. He mentioned in an AMA today that if you had a king peng, you're open to being able to talk directly with the team for decision making. So I watched the floor price from a king peng go from 25 to 88 soul in like a matter of a minute. And if you have a legendary Peng, not the Peng, but just a legendary NFT, I think you have access to all of the future tools that are coming out. So there's a whole lot of bullish cases to just get a crown Peng and to have a legendary one. They said that there are some traits that they haven't announced yet. Will have access to future utilities for different tools that they're launching.
Do
I
you
would
have
just
a
dive into their Twitter and just literally listen to their AMAs because he just hands out alpha left and right, and that's where I get all my information is straight from the founder.
just curious, is there you said it was going through AI. Is it going through like did they have their own node and all that? Like it's obviously not
Oh yeah,
requiring
oh
anything
yeah.
from you and your setup.
Oh, all everything
Gotcha.
that
Okay.
they're doing is their own private source. Like they had it set up before they launched, so they didn't even need our money. They have the money and they're backing everything with their own funding before they even launched.
Gotcha. Okay.
Are
That to
they
me is bullish.
are they
Man,
One
these fools are smart.
one thing I will say though, are you familiar with Soul Decoder?
Yeah. Unique's talked to me about it a few times, and I took a look to it, but I haven't like fully dived into it.
since they got acquired by Community.
I heard, but I'm not the fundamental guy. Maybe Maniacs heard a little bit more about it than me.
I was just saying that's probably one to look into. I mean, I think that what they're doing is pretty huge. Community has been around for like 5+ years. I think they're like 200 million plus.
Yeah.
As
But
far as like value, yeah.
They got money. They got a nice market.
Yeah, they
cap.
got a lot of money, and what they're trying to do with Decoder is make it like the next Blocksmith Labs. They're already working on their next whitelist management tool and all that.
The only
Decoder in chat,
What was that?
like its analytics, because I know Unique has Soul Decoder. I don't know if we still have it when we cleared out all the channels. No, yeah, we do. So we have a Soul Decoder bot in here.
Mhm.
I think he's got like 4 of them, so we have access to the tool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm just saying that the yeah, like they're what they're developing in the future, like for the tools
Got
for
you. You're like, hey,
Discords and
just be
everything.
aware of Soul Decoder too. You're like, Peng's great.
Essentially, yeah,
Don't
because as
forget about Soul Decoder.
if you have because yeah, as an individual holder, like as the 3 holder pass for your Discords, that's great. But like as an individual holder, I think they're going to turn into something kind of like Blocksmith with what they're building.
Definitely
But
take
yeah,
a
I don't know.
look
We'll
into
see.
it. Now, if you guys have like really neat, cool projects and stuff like that, I mean, that's what the alpha chat's for. I mean, clutch trades can be whatever. I mean, I definitely just want to sharing these great ideas too, because VC is great. I don't know about you guys. I got a small attention span. I could forget about it tomorrow.
Amen to that.
Is this a good time to buy into stepping?
No.
I don't know anything about it, TBH.
Okay.
You
Stepping
and
is a big
China
no.
market manipulated it.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
had a
China
huge-
fucked that shit to the floor. Just to keep it.
Oh.
Pardon my French.
It's totally cool.
What
We
happened?
won't
to it?
talk politics, but they do it with everything.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know what happened with Steppen, I can break that down pretty quick and easy. But
Yeah.
just only if you
Ponzi
guys want to know.
nomics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it wasn't even the Ponzi-nomics. It was just so basically the app came out with a easily exploitable existence where the value of a shoe was greater than the value of minting a shoe. So your initial investment when the original thing came out could be, when it was $80 Sol or $90 Sol. I think even at the time it was $120 Sol. I own one shoe. Thank God I didn't ape it like 4 of my best friends did. They own 10 shoes apiece. And basically, what took place was China, instead of actually playing the game, they said, screw that. We're just going to have mint farms where they created farms where people are just literally minting the shoes all day, every day in like an office or a warehouse. And it just exploits the entire marketplace and the entire
Did
system.
they also put some on like a Roomba and just let the Roomba move
Yes,
around
yeah,
their
that's
house?
like the joke. That's like the joke. Yeah. So
that's
there's
like
like
what we
a
did for
video
Pokemon Go.
on Twitter of a guy who like puts his phone on a Roomba. But yeah, so what happened though is since they don't have a cap and there is no limit to the amount of shoes that are out there,
There's unlimited diluting supply.
exactly. China basically was like, okay, well, let's take advantage of this. And in the process of them taking advantage of it, it ended up becoming a, infinite number situation where they're just like, okay, well, we're going to keep printing these. And Steppen then saw them continuously printing these shoes to the point where it was going to collapse the entire market. So they pulled the plug on China, but then they proceeded to give China a 45-day window to basically dump everything that they could out of the project, and that's why you've seen everything just crash to the floor. Here's the way I look at it and what my opinion is on it. There will be something better than Steppen that comes along that will be much more worth the investment. Their application on the phone is amazing. It's the best I've ever seen in this space. But the reality is that this is, they call this degen culture for a reason. This is something that it's like having an actual job. It's not like you are just owning this thing and it's gradually progressively making you money. You every day you have to use what it is that a step in is, which is the shoe, going on a run, and all those other things. So in reality, I just don't see it taking off in this marketplace with the value that it has. When it was, you could buy like $3,500 worth of shoes and make $400 a day, and within like, a month or two get all of your money back and then just be stacking money every day, it totally makes sense. But due to the China exploitation, that's no longer a viable option, and it's become just your typical fitness app. You just happen to make $8 per walk rather than nothing, and that was kind of the main issue.
Well, the issue is too the coffers eventually dry up because where's the money flowing in from to pay people?
Exactly.
Right.
Even if the exploit didn't happen, it's the same adage as frickin' as Terra Luna, right? Anyone who
Mhm.
thought an actual AP you could actually earn those APY rewards, paired to a stable coin, they were living in a fallacy. You know what I mean? And Do
Exactly.
Kwon got caught on his bullshit. I don't know who it was. It could have been Citadel. It could have been Robinhood. It could have been anyone that shorted Bitcoin and bought those shares. But someone went after Luna because they're like, they saw an opportunity.
I love this. I'm gonna bounce you guys. Feel free to just hang out in here and chat. I'll probably rejoin on my phone, but I'm gonna pack up my office right now and shut down the stream on here. But this was a great one. I'm gonna be doing this more often. So I mean, if you guys just want to have like open forum chats and just kind of vote on what the topic's gonna be for each week, I mean, I might be open to doing these more than just on Mondays because this to me is a lot more fun than prepping a lesson for like a few hours and then knocking it out.
Also, did you see the video I sent you for Aptos? The meeting they had with Google.
just ping me in that DM because I did forget
Yeah.
to look at it.
Yeah, because the head rep for Google's marketing, she was the one interviewing Aptos and a couple other companies, and she's super bullish on Aptos.
Hell yeah. Yeah, re-ping me because my DMs just get flooded with people trying to. Yeah, it's degen culture.
Right.
All right, you guys. I'm out for right now. But if y'all are still in here and I'm driving, I'll hop back in. But this was fun, you guys. Thank you everyone for
Yeah,
coming
this was
out.
good. Do we know if all green? Is it all green trades? Like anything green at all?
It's
Anything
almost
green?
like you need to have the core trait, like water or flowers, and then you have to have that color trait to like utilize it. That's my takeaway.
Mm, okay.
Just a guess. I'm not too sure.
I got a water
Consistent
guy
too.
with a green Hawaiian shirt. I'm like, is he gonna be able to do both?
I mean, it sounds like it's gonna help. All right, you guys. I'll catch y'all if I was still in here. Peace out,
Yep.
everyone.
Thank you, Clutch.
Easy.
Sounds
Oh
good.
yeah, anytime, guys.
So you said something better than Steppen was gonna end up coming out. Now that Steppen's gone through what they've gone through, and like I guess other projects can take from that in the future, are there any that you know that are developing anything similar to what they have going on?
So at the moment, no, I'm not. Like, I actually am really burned by the whole Steppen thing. Like, I was super disappointed by it. So no, I haven't really tracked anything, but that's just my take on it. And it's like it's pretty obvious that the play is there, and what I mean by that is there is a formula for this to be successful, but there has to be limitations to certain elements to it. And that's why, like, I don't know of anything else at the moment, but that's why I would just steer anybody away from Steppen because they basically shot themselves so bad in the out the gate. They only existed, I think, for like 5 months prior to this whole issue, or 4 months even prior to this whole issue. Um, that it's like it's not that it's uncorrectable. I just don't ever see it as valuable again. Like, I don't ever see it returning to the value it once had because we really don't know how much GST and how much GMT has been mined by people in different locations that have basically made it an obsolete product. Because again, the infinite number elements to it really is a huge issue. It's fine to have one infinite number in a project if you want it to be the token or whatever. It's not okay to have 4 infinite numbers in a project. That's just going to be too much to destroy and dilute the entire thing.
Yeah.
I also don't.
Go on.
I also don't think someone is going to come out with something like Steppen in a bear market. Usually, you don't
Oh,
see
that too.
yield or yield type Ponzi schemes come out unless there's a bull run. The reason being is because people aren't going to throw their money in. Yes, there's like meme tokens that come out during bear markets, but that's also usually a small circle. You won't like you will see something like Steppen again, but it won't happen until next bull run, just because of that magnitude. Just because there's not going to be that capital flow going in. You'll find meme scam coins left and right though that you can make a quick buck, or get rugged. So, but I just don't see. Dude, someone like Under Armour could easily do it. And my thought process with that would be, Nike's kind of the king alpha dog at the top. You could see one of these shoe companies that's like a tier under Nike do it to get some
Agreed
notoriety.
1000%.
To basically be like, okay, look at us. Hey, you can earn some fucking shit. Obviously, not to the degree of Steppen and that, because they would lose a bunch of money. And then people would be like, holy shit, look, Under Armour's badass or Puma's badass. They're doing this thing. And Nike looks at this and they're like, oh shit, like, fuck, these guys did this first. Now everyone wants to fucking buy these shoes because you can earn money or some bullshit. But
They
yeah.
should hold competitions.
Where like they had like the shoes with like the Nike fitness trackers in them that like connected to your phone or some shit like that.
But what I was gonna say is real quick. Uh, Steppen had Adidas basically doing exactly what you're alluding to, and Adidas has, since the China issue, has completely retracted and changed their statement and how they view it. So, I absolutely 1000% agree with there will be a company, a lesser shoe company that isn't Nike, because like you said, Nike is kind of like Apple. They've saturated and dominated the market so hard that they really don't find themselves as someone who needs this sort of angle that will be the next person to step up and do what they have to do. I'm very confident of that.
Right. Yeah. Nike is more focused, I believe, in companies like that in the metaverse plays going forward, establishing e-commerce, stores in whatever it be, like Meta or whatever, like some sort of big metaverse plays, because that's where they can really showcase a bunch of different things. And we've seen on Ethereum, some examples like with Sandbox, like RTKTW or whatever the hell it's called, and some of that crap. But yeah, it's going to be someone smaller that comes along to try and get their name up.
Yeah, I 1000% agree.
I don't know. NFTs to me are it's just such a risk right now. I'm holding obviously the cardboards in a couple other projects, but it's just to be
Well,
aping unless
yeah,
right.
so I just gotta. This is like kind of a topic that I wanted to bring up before Clutch left. Like how many NFTs do you guys believe truly make it out of the bear market? Because the cryptocurrencies will survive. They're gonna be fine.
Good
They
ones
have enough
will.
VC put into it. But I'm terrified that a majority of projects will not make this market, and it will be the end of them, or they will get absorbed by other projects, kind of like we saw Dark Warlocks and Skellies, I think is the other one.
Yeah, it was
For
Skelly's.
sure, majority won't make it.
But see, there's a delusion, and I know this because I've worked in the space for fucking 2 years. And I've seen projects where people hold out. They hold out this hope, right? There's this there's this attachment, this emotional attachment to
The
stuff.
hopium.
It's the hopium, and they build like they see again. They use examples throughout culture. They use examples of okay, It's like I've heard people argue about Amazon and Tesla and say, well, what about the people who held stock in those companies? I was like, you realize that was one out of millions of tech companies that fucking failed
Those
from
are
all the
the
way from the
diamonds in
90s.
the rough, and more than likely,
Right.
the people who bought them initially didn't have the grand vision of what was going to happen. I mean, those
Exactly.
were market outliers.
Totally.
And they're
And
both
it's like
discretionary. What are the odds? They're both in
right.
the discretionary sector.
Right. And so I used to be in the whole mindset like it's not a bad idea to look at diamonds rough, but at the end of the day to over allocate your money or your portfolio into taking high risks, especially during economic times like this, into projects and saying, okay, I'm going to go I'm gonna go ape shit into this because the art's good or this is good, and just premising it off of little things like that.
Boom or bust.
Yes, it's boom or
So,
bust. You're basically YOLOing.
I want to touch on this while it's hot because this is a great topic to go into portfolio diversification. What he's talking
Hold on,
about is
Clutch. Hold
purely.
up. I just gotta say, I literally wanted to ask you this question to get your take on it, and I was so glad you came back at the time you did because it was literally like I was sad that you left because I was like I actually was hoping to get what his like my initial question was because I think you joined halfway through is how many projects do you think are gonna die versus how many projects do you think are gonna make it? And in this kind of market space, I totally understand that it's just like a real market space. Companies die all the time, get absorbed, get,
A good way to look at what's happening is, I mean, this is super comparable to like the internet boom. Like 90% of those companies didn't make it, but the ones that did, those are the staples of today. Like Microsoft, Apple. I mean, two of the biggest ones, arguably, but there are other tech companies that survived during that and got out of it just fine. But they had some of the craziest bull markets we've ever seen. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think 90% of the projects that are in the NFT space aren't going to make it. They're either degen, they got bad Ponzi-nomics, their team isn't as dedicated as they say they are on their roadmap. I mean, there's so many flaws in it. But the people who are joining the space now and are actually building with builders, I mean, my God, those guys are going to make it, and their projects are going to be fucking huge because they were here during the downfall, they were here during the rise, but they just put their heads down and work and say what they're going to be working on, or not say, but if they just commit to what they're working on, I mean, sky's the limit for them. But I do want to touch back on what GT was saying when he was talking about these insanely speculative stocks and companies and projects out there. They're speculative for a reason. He was talking about boom or bust and just going all in. The fact that only we could talk about two major stocks that have gone over like 1,000x, Tesla and Amazon, they're both at the time highly speculative plays. The people who did go all in and lucked out, it was luck. I mean, they could have had some insider knowledge, but there's nothing that could have forecasted 10 to 20 years down the line what that company was going to achieve. I mean, maybe they had that hindsight to be like, Bezos isn't a guy I want to fade. Maybe Elon isn't a guy I want to fade. But they weren't those names until today. They weren't those names back then. So it's so hard to gauge. But to dive into the core reason why I wanted to dive back into it is portfolio diversification. I'm not saying